I notice the way my phone lights up and I don't reach for it, not because I'm busy, but because I already know what it wants from me. My jaw tightens, my thumb hovers, and I feel that small, private relief of choosing silence over explanation. What I'm about to tell you isn't comforting and it isn't polite, but it's already living in your body. The room smells faintly of cold coffee and dust, and there's a chair across from me that hasn't been used in weeks, maybe longer, and I like it that way. I'm not lonely in this moment, I'm alert, and that difference matters more than anyone admits. And that's when the air shifted. If you misread this, your chest reacts before your mind does, and the cost shows up as tension you can't place. I'm standing in my own living room, lights low, nothing dramatic, just the quiet weight of not having to perform, and I catch myself thinking, this isn't me. That thought comes fast, defensive, like a reflex learned from years of explaining why I'm tired. Then another voice cuts in, slower, sharper. This feels familiar. I don't like how quickly that one settles into my hands, how my shoulders drop as if they've been waiting for permission. I want connection, and I resent the price tag attached to it, and that contradiction scrapes the inside of my chest raw. The silence isn't empty. It presses back, heavy, watchful. The room felt different all of a sudden. If I react wrong here, if I reach back for what I already left, something in my self-image fractures and doesn't cleanly heal. Here's the first truth, and it lands hard because it sounds obvious until you trace the damage. Older men don't exit dating because they hate women. They exit because the cost of entry keeps rising while the return keeps shrinking. Observation turns into consequence when every interaction requires emotional management, preemptive reassurance, and decoding pauses that mean everything and nothing at the same time. The cost is constant vigilance, and the irreversibility is that once you notice the tax, you can't pretend it isn't there even when you want to. The second truth tightens the loop. Modern dating trains men to confuse endurance with virtue, to believe that if they just absorb enough ambiguity, something stable will appear as a reward. That belief feels noble until it breaks, because the consequence is self-erasure disguised as patience. The cost shows up as a dull anger you swallow in public and leak in private habits you're ashamed of, and once that pattern locks in, it doesn't loosen without leaving a mark. But here's what no one tells you, and this is the moment most men never notice. Detachment isn't accidental, it's leveraged. The observation is cold and precise. Unpredictability creates pursuit. The consequence is that men are kept in a constant state of adjustment, always one misstep away from being told they changed the vibe. The cost is your nervous system, and the irreversibility is that your body learns to associate intimacy with instability, even when you swear it won't. There was a quiet second, and everything clicked. The false belief arrives right on time, that opting out means you failed, that solitude is just bitterness with better lighting. I carried that belief for years because it kept me explainable. Then it collapsed under inspection. The observation was simple. My stress dropped when I stopped playing. The consequence was peace that didn't ask permission. The cost was social approval, and once you feel that trade clearly, you can't unfeel it, no matter how often you're told you're giving up. Listen closely because this is the delayed reveal, and I'll name it once. The cost of entry. That's what all of this circles. Every relationship has one, but this version demands continuous emotional labor without guaranteed reciprocity. After the reveal, everything rearranges. People call it fear, men feel it as arithmetic, and just when I thought the moment was done, it wasn't. The cycle tightens because awareness doesn't free you automatically, it isolates you first. After the reveal, one image keeps returning, and I won't dress it up. Dating starts to feel like standing in a room with a meter running, watching the numbers climb while you're told not to look. That's the only metaphor I'll give you, because once you see it, you can't argue with it. The status shifts here. You're not bitter, you're informed. The cost of leaving this realization behind is higher than the cost of staying with it, and that's the trap. I'm tired of pretending this is about romance when it's about regulation, about who absorbs whose instability and calls it love. If even one part of this felt like your life, you feel it in your jaw right now, tight without reason, hands still, breath shallow. This isn't resolution, it's pressure. Once you see this, it doesn't go away. Tonight, when the room goes quiet again, notice what your body does before your thoughts catch up, and sit with that unfinished recognition. I'm back in the same room, same chair, same quiet, But something inside me is colder now, sharper, less willing to negotiate with fantasies. This is the part you hide from people, because it sounds cruel when said out loud. Older men don't stay alone because they can't love. They stay alone because they finally measured the damage correctly. My breath slows, my jaw unlocks, and I notice how unfamiliar that relief still feels, like a muscle I forgot how to use. The silence changed before the truth did, and my body recognized it first. This is the moment most men never notice, because it happens without drama. The observation is brutal in its simplicity. Peace is not empty, it is protected. The consequence lands quietly when you realize no one is evaluating your tone, timing, or emotional temperature. The cost is that you become unreachable to people who benefited from your constant availability. The irreversibility is absolute, because once your nervous system recalibrates, chaos stops feeling like chemistry, and that door does not reopen. I used to believe solitude was a holding pattern, a temporary pause before the real life resumed. That belief felt responsible, even mature. Now it feels inaccurate. The observation corrected it. My life didn't pause, it stabilized. The consequence was clarity sharp enough to cut through nostalgia. The cost was the loss of an identity built around being chosen, and once that identity dissolves, you can't rebuild it without lying to yourself, which your body refuses to do anymore. And right when you think it's over, it isn't, because the pressure returns in subtler forms. Friends ask questions that sound harmless, but land like accusations. Social rituals frame your choice as a phase, a wound, a failure to heal correctly. The observation is clinical. People need your discomfort to validate their own compromises. The consequence is social friction. The cost is being misunderstood on purpose. The irreversibility is that explaining yourself only reopens negotiations you already closed. There's a private habit I never talk about, and this is the shame mirror. Late at night, I sometimes replay old conversations in my head, not because I miss the person, but because I'm checking for missed signals, hidden tests, moments where silence meant something else. I hate that reflex. I catch it now. The observation exposes the conditioning. The consequence is a brief spike of tension. The cost is remembering how deeply the pattern set in. And once you see that reflex for what it is, it loses authority, but not immediately. The emotional contradiction sharpens here. I want companionship, and I refuse the conditions attached to it. Both are true. The observation doesn't resolve the tension, it names it. The consequence is that longing no longer controls my decisions. The cost is carrying desire without outsourcing responsibility for it. The irreversibility is internal. I stop asking other people to regulate emotions I won't manage myself, and that line, once drawn, does not blur. There was a quiet second, and everything clicked again, deeper this time. People say men give up because that framing protects the system. The observation dismantles it. Opting out is not surrender, it is refusal. The consequence is that you're no longer legible to narratives built on male pursuit and female ambiguity. The cost is exile from certain conversations. The irreversibility is that clarity isolates before it stabilizes, and you can't rush that phase without breaking something inside you. I can feel something inside me turning, and it isn't anger. It's fatigue finally allowed to speak. I'm tired of pretending that emotional labor demanded without consent is intimacy. I'm tired of acting confused when patterns repeat with new faces. The observation is steady. Repetition is data. The consequence is detachment without hostility. The cost is losing the thrill of uncertainty that once passed for passion. The irreversibility is neurological. Your body stops chasing spikes and starts preferring flat lines that don't hurt. This is where the internal monologue ladder finishes climbing. This isn't me, already burned off. This feels familiar, became undeniable. I don't like how accurate this is, passed through like a fever. Now it lands. I can't unsee this. The observation seals it. The consequence is a permanent shift in perception. The cost is innocence you didn't know you were still carrying. The irreversibility is total, because seeing clearly is not a skill you can turn off. The room felt different all of a sudden. Heavier, but safer. Like walls that finally hold instead of echo. I sit down, exhale slowly, and feel my chest settle into a rhythm that doesn't anticipate interruption. This is the second silence texture. Thicker, deliberate, earned. The observation is embodied. My hands stop fidgeting. The consequence is presence without performance. The cost is that no one applauds this moment. The irreversibility is personal. Approval no longer factors into the equation. Here's the unforgettable sentence, and it doesn't ask for agreement. Peace is the only relationship that never asks you to explain your tone. It lands once, then keeps landing. The replay trigger fires when you catch yourself smiling alone and immediately questioning it. Notice that reflex. That's the old contract trying to renegotiate terms you already voided. If even one part of this felt like your life, you and I are built from the same scars. That line isn't comforting, it's a separation marker. There are men who will hear this as bitterness, and there are men who will feel it in their spine. Once you see this, it doesn't go away. Tomorrow, or tonight, you'll be standing in that quiet room again, phone dark, breath steady, and you'll feel the choice before you name it. Picture yourself standing in that quiet room, not waiting, not avoiding, just existing without negotiating your nervous system away. Some people will never understand why you chose this, and that misunderstanding is the toll you pay to keep what you've earned. This isn't for everyone. It was never supposed to be. And if you try to outrun this recognition, if you drown it out with noise or novelty, the pattern will return, sharper, more expensive, and far less patient than it was the first time.